Governor J.B. Pritzker, interestingly enough, had some things to say about why the Trump administration may be looking for a bunch of the voter rolls for various states. Well, watch this first clip, and then we'll discuss. We'll answer JB's question, and then play another clip, which I think is actually even funnier than that. Check this out, the governor of Illinois.
Another thing that's happened, and very few people paying attention, you probably are, which is they demanded, the DOJ did, our voter data. Not just ours. In Illinois, every state's voter data. Why? They won't tell us why.
Yeah, I'll tell you, because there's rampant voter fraud around the country and nobody's willing to admit that. In California, I've mentioned this so many times, literally anybody can vote. We did a story about a month ago about a lady whose dog voted. And you might be thinking, well, how do you know that her dog voted? She must have gotten caught and she must have be facing some sort of consequences for her dog voting. And yes, she is, but she got caught because she turned herself in. In other words, this lady's dog could have continued to vote had she not had a good conscience and turned herself in. By the way, she was a conservative, and that's probably why she didn't feel right about it. She was doing it in order to prove a point, which she effectively did because her dog was voting. And turned herself in because she couldn't bear not being in alignment with her own values, which is, in my opinion, admirable. By the way, the dog unfortunately has passed, therefore will be voting for libs throughout the duration of the dog's voting future. But JB, why are they wanting these voter rolls? Because, it doesn't seem to make any sense. I'll tell you, it's voter fraud. Interestingly enough, later on in the same video, JB answers his own question. Watch this, cut 3.
And actually, what they seem to be looking for, remember back to the 2020 elections, is they want to be able to find voter fraud, which lots of organizations have been looking for voter fraud, as you know, for a long time. There's very little voter fraud going on, very little.
Yeah, JB, that's what we're looking for. It's just funny to me. He sits there and pretends, why would the Trump administration want any of the voting rolls? It's because they're fascists. And then later on he says, well, it's because they're looking for voter fraud. Yeah. Yeah, dude. Now, just so you know, and I'm just, I guess, specifically acquainted with the state of California because I live in this godforsaken hellhole. The California Secretary of State is responsible for investigating any sort of voter fraud allegations. The entire Secretary of State's office is supposed to handle that. Now, California State Secretary of State has about 500 people employed in the Secretary of State's office. They will not tell anybody how many people specifically work on investigating alleged voter fraud. People that I know that are close to that office, that don't necessarily work there, but have a pretty good understanding of how that office works, said there are between, on any given day, 2 to 5 people working on voter fraud allegations. In other words, in the state of 40 million people, 2 of them are working on rooting out voter fraud. Now, again, they obviously can get all of it. There's no voter fraud that would ever take place that those 2 people can't root out, again, in a state of 40 million people. And of course, there is no voter fraud, according to one Governor J.B. Pritzker. But yeah, dude, that's what we're looking for. Stop be-clowning yourself. Actually, let me rephrase that. Keep be-clowning yourself because it gives us some good content to laugh and mock you with.